But let's stay on the East Coast for a second, because the last time you were here, we talked about the Knicks' next move, and they made a lot of great moves, right? And they had a great win last night. OG back plus 28 for OG Anunoby. In full health, Jason, what is this team's ceiling?
I think they have a championship ceiling. I think they're in that group with the guys that are like the way I've kind of looked at it at the top of the league is I look at, kind of Denver and Boston being on their own tier. That second tier of teams that are like legit championship contenders, but not on the same level as Denver and Boston, but not like kind of the long shot guys. That to me is like the Clippers have been there for a large part this year, but they're kind of eking out of that group. The Suns are kind of eking into that group. Minnesota to me has kind of just been in that tier all season long. But then after that, to me, there's like a group of teams that are like, they can win. It's just a long shot kind of tier. And to me, New York falls into that tier. They're just so physically overwhelming. That's the thing. And we haven't even really gotten a chance to see it yet. But in the thing that I think we've seen a lot during the stretch where the front court has been out is it's shined a real light on how physically imposing their backcourt is.
Yes.
Like watching Dante DiVincenzo in his physical ball pressure, and then obviously him stepping up in his offensive usage too. But Josh Hart, who's like just literally a Ford F-150 of a two guard, just like a big body dude who just could cause so many problems. And what's crazy is like that to me is what I look at as an exciting potential for this team is kind of layering that physical imposition on the game. Like we haven't even seen him with Mitchell Robinson with that core group. And like Mitchell Robinson damn near won the Cavs series just by bullying the Cavs front line on the offensive glass. Julius Randle's capable of that, but obviously he's gone into every single playoff run coming off an injury. And I very much look at Julius as a rhythm player, kind of needs to be in a groove. So I'm hoping he can come back sooner than later. Then OG Anunoby obviously is one of the most physically imposing threes in the league. And then we talked about the backcourt a minute ago. And so like, I don't see any reason why they, especially as the league, and you had mentioned to me last night that we might be talking about this today, but especially as the league has kind of shifted to a more physical brand of basketball, I think it plays directly into their strengths.
DiVincenzo, the way I would describe him is a hustle guy who happens to be skilled as well.
Yeah, I like that. Like Dante, like it's always funny when you watch the clips. I remember that was the thing with Isaiah Thomas when LeBron had that dunk on him where his head didn't get above his waist in the 2017 conference. I think it was in the conference finals. And then Isaiah Thomas, like in between game 2 and 3 or whatever, immediately released a video of him doing a windmill dunk in the like in the practice. Dante DiVincenzo is like a really good athlete, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. Like this was a guy who was doing dunk contests and stuff when he was in high school, like a real athletic player. And I thought he shot the ball pretty well in Golden State last year, but like I thought the biggest thing that stood out last year for Golden State is he was one of their best point of attack defenders. And so to see him kind of add to that a more high level like movement shooter game this year. Like last year he was kind of a spot up guy with Golden State. Like he's doing a lot of stuff off the move for the Knicks. And I just think talk about like a free agent signing on the margins that ends up like being a massive home run. I think he's been a massive home run for them.
Most definitely. I mean, you've had some injuries, not as many as me, during your playing career. And the thing that scares me about the Julius Randle thing is like, me personally, I could always deal with pain, but like instability, right? And I've dealt with knee instability is like the thing that could really get into your mind. So for him, I just hope that shoulder stays in place. Now, there's going to be some pain, but if that shoulder could stay in place, that's what's going to really matter for this Knicks team. Because, I love watching the free-flowing basketball that they're playing without him, but the Knicks ceiling is with an all-NBA player in Julius Randle.
Yeah, they need it. Like that to me, like really the two of them actually complement each other really well, meaning Jalen Brunson and Randle in the sense that like Brunson's your textbook skill guard that like a very, very versatile skill guard that can attack in a bunch of different ways, but he's a skill guard. And to me, like pairing a skill guard with a mismatch attacking forward is like the best like pairing that you can have. Even as you look down at like Jokic Murray, it's just like a on steroids version of that same concept, right? Like any sort of size mismatch, Jokic can exploit on the inside. Any sort of skill mismatch, Murray can exploit on the outside. And so like obviously Brunson and Randle aren't on that level. That's not what I'm trying to say. My point is like their skill sets mesh really well. And specifically why I look at a Julius Randle as super important is against switching defenses in particular, which you inevitably will run into at some point in the playoffs. Even amongst teams that run drop, they will go through stretches where they switch. And having a guy that can like consistently just kind of play bully ball, it's so
Yeah.
important. Like I was literally watching Pacers. I was watching Pacers Thunder this morning,
Yeah.
and just like having Pascal Siakam every single time he got, Isaiah Joe or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on a switch, and he could just walk him down to the block and just bury him under the basket. Like that's a huge advantage in a playoff series. And that's why I agree with you. I think Randle's so important. The one thing I'll say about Randle though is his injury being an upper body thing. I agree with you. The instability is a little sketchy, but I always worry about that like mental element
100%.
of planting hard. Like I don't know about
Yeah.
you. I'm still dealing with that right now with my Achilles, but I dealt with it pretty badly when I broke my foot in college. But like there's like the I'm healthy phase, and then there's the I trust this foot or trust this knee phase. And so thankfully, like for Julius, like I think he trusts his lower body's probably feeling better than it has at this point in the season ever, because he's been able to kind of
Yeah.
ease his way as he's ramping up. So I'm encouraged. I'm more just worried about, can he get enough games under his belt to rebuild his rhythm, because he's such a rhythm player in terms of his like jump shot. Like he's the guy who can go 7 for 24 for like 2 weeks before he like
Yeah.
gets it figured out,
Yeah.